Hey everyone, good evening, good evening. I hope you're doing well. I hope this video finds you in good health and in good spirits. I wanted to take a bit of time to talk about MK Ultra and the movie They Cloned Tyrone. I was going to put everything all in one video on the different MK Ultra programs and show clips from the movie of what program was what, but I've kind of decided to go against that and kind of just do everything just kind of piece by piece. So I thought the first thing I would do is talk a little bit about MK Ultra and the choices of people that they picked to do the programs on. So in the Clone Tyrone, who did they choose to be the people that were the targets? Well, they chose a prostitute, a drug dealer, and a pimp. And to some people that might sound kind of odd, like why would they do that? That doesn't make any sense. But actually it completely does, because back in the day, the officials determined that the best way to basically conduct the experiment was without letting the public know what was going on. They didn't want them to become suspicious or have someone tip off an enemy. They didn't want anybody to find out basically what they were doing. So the best way they could do it was to find subjects that they felt were not going to put up a struggle or a fight, or who wouldn't recognize what was going on, or even people who wouldn't so much be believed. They would choose people from places like prisons, nursing homes, convalescent hospitals, a lot of mental hospitals. Unfortunately, those were like really, really popular. A thing with that, though, interestingly, is that the LSD that they would distribute was not just given to these people that I'm talking about, but they actually were provided to some of the doctors, some of the military personnel, some of the CIA agents, and members of the general public as well. Most of the time, again, this was without their knowledge. It was for experimental purposes. Now, there are many, many MK Ultra programs. There are over 100. All I'm doing really is going over the basics of it right now. Originally, the goal of MK Ultra was to examine different types of techniques to control and influence a person's mind. They were doing it primarily at the time to learn how to extract information from people in different, scenarios, under different situations and circumstances. And basically, like during wartime, they would try to interrogate them to get information. And one of the first missions tasked to the agency was studying the behavioral modifications and the mind control and engineering. And MK Ultra is thought to have actually first begun in around the 50s. And for nearly 20 years, the CIA's programs would see countless unsuspecting Americans, unfortunately, exposed to different things like drugs, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, abuse, and lots of different tortures. But one of the main ones, again, and that kind of reminded me of They Cloned Tyrone, was how they have LSD. Now, in the movie They Cloned Tyrone, they didn't have LSD, but they did have a white powdery substance that would make people laugh. I'm not going to go into that part so much because I don't want to give away the movie for those who haven't seen it. I'm just talking a little bit about MK Ultra. But in real life, they used LSD for the most part, but they used other things as well. They used heroin, they used morphine, they even used MDMA, mescaline, sodium pentanol, alcohol, and they even used marijuana, but I think they used the marijuana in some type of a liquid form. And doctors also experimented with drug combinations. What's scary is that in one of the instances, it was said that he injected a patient with barbiturates in one arm, and then he used amphetamines in the other arm. How scary. Can you imagine what that would do to a person's body, mind, or psyche? So, hypnosis was a really, really large part of the program. And the CIA back then had recruited a psychiatrist, and his name was Donald Ewen Cameron. And he was doing all kinds of experiments and reprogramming techniques and trying basically to learn how to break the human psyche and erase their memories and put new ones in their place. Sadly, a lot of these experiments were really, really inhumane. And, I can understand why they kept them private for so long, because they really didn't want people to catch wind of this. And Cameron had said that he was trying to do a good deed, basically, even though he wasn't. It was said, well, he said that he was doing it to help people with schizophrenia and other mental disorders. But, his methods would involve putting patients in drug-induced comas for weeks on end. And what he would do is he would play loops of music or sounds or different types of noises over and over and over. And it would drive these people crazy. And they would also do the same thing with pictures, where they would hold the eyes open, like here, like I have in this picture. I put a side by side, which is kind of reminiscent of Clockwork Orange. But we'll talk about that in another video. But as far as Dr. Cameron's method, he would also use electroshock therapy, which you could see also in the pictures listed below that they did on the experiments back in the day on children. And sadly, he would use the electroshock therapy at about 30 to 40 times the normal power. And he would use the sensory deprivation, locking patients in a room with no stimulus also for weeks at a time, which really could break a person's psyche. They say that they discontinued these programs back in the 70s, but it's been proven otherwise. Basically, what they do is they just change the name of the operation, they change it to a new location, give it a new name, and keep on going. So it's really sad. So this might be a little bit of new information for some of you, or it may be a refresher for some of you. But there's just a little bit of information on MK Ultra and how it has a little bit of the connections with the clone Tyrone. I'm also probably going to end up doing some videos again on cloning and on Clonaid and the Raelians. But I have to be careful on that one because I got in trouble twice for doing videos on that. One time my video got pulled, another time I got a warning. So you know how YouTube is. Alright, anyway everyone, I hope you're all doing phenomenal. I hope you found my video entertaining, enlightening, beneficial, or something in some way helpful. Alright everyone, take care. Peace.